Here's how to make a simple textured vessel. For the crispest impressions, you're going to want to put some plastic down and then use your roller or stamp tool on top of that into the clay. Medium to moderate pressure should do. Once you're done with that, go ahead and take off the wrap, then put your template back on and go ahead and just clean up the edges so that it's back to its original desired form. When you add texture, you do end up stretching the clay a little bit, so we just want to bring it back to the correct shape. Once our template is back in front of us, we're going to take the edges and we're just going to bevel them. I'm using a tool, but you could also use a popsicle stick at an angle. We just want to take off some of the excess clay and make it so that there's a nice smooth spot for the edges to seal together to create a seam. From here, we're going to use the scratch and attach method. So I have a pretty wet clay and I've got a wet toothbrush as well as lots of scratchiness on it. So I'm just going to scratch both sides so that they're nice and wet like Velcro, and then use my wooden form to help roll it together. That wooden form is going to allow you to really press firmly against it, and it gives you some resistance. So that should help get a nice even seam pretty quickly. You can use a popsicle stick, a potter's thumb, your own thumb, whatever kind of tools that you like to get this nice and evened out. Just go back with the sponge whenever you're finished to smooth it down. You do want to take the form out and make sure that you get that very top part where the seam is. And if you want to smooth the entire seam out, now is the time. Once you're done with that, flip it over or to whichever side is going to be the bottom. Grab your bottom circle and do the same scratch and attach method here. Once we have it stuck on, we're going to flip it back over and then use a cutter or popsicle stick to cut off the excess from the circle. Once the excess is off, then you can start blending the seam and making sure that it has a secure attachment point. Now, once your bottom is attached and you've gotten off that excess, then what I want to do is put the form back in, and then you're going to once again be able to use that to create some resistance while you really go in and clean up that seam between the bottom and the top of your vessel. Eventually you'll make it to about here, and then you can use a sponge as well as a popsicle stick to get off any excess and just make sure that it is smooth and finished the way that we like it. I'm even going to take that sponge all over and just make sure if there's any weird lines or impressions from working on the mat that those are gone as well. Then when we're happy, we're just going to set it down and give it that little rolling motion in order to round out the bottom a little bit. Go back and just do some more cleanup and touching up, and just keep touching up until your little heart is content. When you're feeling good about it, then you can remove the form and go ahead and put in a piece of foam or a sponge if you had a big sponge, but we like a rolled up piece of foam in order to help it hold the form and the shape, and that way you can use the form for another one if you're in a production run at this moment in time.